right, so I was actually planning on doing a pre-draft podcast this week as far as what you should expect as a Vikings fan heading into the draft, I believe starting this Thursday, and it actually took a U-turn. This is actually an emergency podcast now, and let me explain why. And by the way, I firmly do expect Rick Spielman to trade back from the first round into the second round and stockpile picks. You know, he loves to do that every single year. He loves to have double-digit picks if he can. So I firmly do expect him to do that. And by the way, there will be a podcast next week where I actually react to the Vikings draft pick selections. But anyway, all of a sudden, and by the way, thank you for tuning in, Realistic Randy, Mediocre at Best Sports Podcast. But anyway, this is an emergency podcast, and here's why. Okay, so I'm a contributor for the Vikings Age. I've mentioned that before. And last week, I wrote 2 articles for them. The first one, I basically gave kudos to Rick Spielman off of signing Eric Kendricks to that 5-year extension. I already said in the last podcast, I believe it was, that, hey, the Vikings offseason, Rick Spielman deserves an A. As far as being able to sign Kirk Cousins, being able to retain Nick Easton, being able to you released Jarius Wright, who I love, by the way. He's a hell of a player. You just didn't give him enough time, but you replaced him with Kendall Wright. And I said, okay, fantastic start so far, right? Okay. And after you sign Eric Kendricks, and what's really good about signing Eric Kendricks is because heading into the 2019 offseason, look, you have a lot of key players that you need to retain. That was already at the forefront. We already knew that. Before the Eric Kendricks signing, you had 5 players heading into 2019 as a free agent. Eric Kendricks, Stephon Diggs, Anthony Barr, Danielle Hunter, and Trey Waynes. Now, after you sign Eric Kendricks, and I said, look, that's a hell of a job that Rick Spielman did because that's one of the key players I said you absolutely have to retain. And not only did he retain him, he did it before the 2019 offseason, so you have less of a headache to deal with next offseason. So now, fast forward after the Eric Kendricks signing, I wrote another article. And this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that's been following me. I mentioned this on a podcast before, but this is the first time I actually put it in print form. I wrote an article saying, hey, of the 4 remaining players, the 4 remaining key players that are pending free agents in 2019, Stephon Diggs, Danielle Hunter, Trey Waynes, and Anthony Barr, out of those 4, if you can only retain 3 of them, if one of them has to be the odd man out, for me, it's Anthony Barr. And I'm not going to back down from that whatsoever, okay? So I mentioned that. I put that in print form. And look, I'm not taking anything away from Anthony Barr as far as talent is concerned. The dude has the talent to be the next Von Miller. He really does when he applies himself. And that's the problem. On a game-to-game basis, ever since the end of his rookie year, so starting his sophomore season up until now, it's been a game-to-game basis where you don't know what you're going to get from him. One day he's Jason Taylor or Von Miller on the field. The next you have to remind yourself that he's actually on the field. The start of last season, the first half of 2017, he was outstanding. He kicked ass out there. And then the second half of 2017, he fell apart. He disappeared. He was nowhere to be found. And don't take my word for it. You're just hating on. No, I'm not. Look, Mike Zimmer said himself once, quote, about Anthony Barr and his effort levels, quote, Anthony sometimes has a tendency to coast a little bit. And then not only that, the player himself, the man himself even brought it up. At the start of last year, he said, quote, Anthony Barr said, quote, it starts with my effort and picking that up. That's a big emphasis for me this offseason, and I feel good right now. Well, that's fantastic that you said that before the start of last year. And again, he started off well. He started off fantastic. The first half of that season, he did a wonderful, phenomenal job. I was like, oh, this is the rookie form of Anthony Barr that we've been waiting for. And not to say the last couple of years in between it, he's still been a pretty good linebacker, but as far as you know, he can do better. And when the fact that the head coach, the dude that handpicked this guy to be his linchpin on this defense, brought it up himself as far as his effort levels are concerned, and the fact that Anthony Barr brought it up himself, combined with the fact that you could just look on the damn TV screen for yourself and see that he's not giving it his all consistently. And it was the same again for the second half of last year. And that is why, when it comes down to that, combined with the fact that Stephon Diggs, to me, is a top 10 receiver, You need him for this system, especially for the fact that you got Kirk Cousins. Trey Waynes, he's gotten progressively better. And look, as a number 2 cornerback, that's a hard position to find. Cornerbacks in general are hard to find, and the dude can hold his own. He can keep up with anybody. He's gotten progressively better, okay? And then not only that, look, I know Danielle Hunter, he didn't have a fantastic start to his first year as a full-time starter. But you know what? To bail on him now, right when he's tapping into his prime, I think is a bad idea. Look, you know what? He was facing double teams a lot last year. You know, he's only going to get better. But you know what? The common denominator between all those 3 guys is that I know they're giving it their all. I know they are every single play. Anthony Barr, that's not the case. And again, the head coach and the man himself brought it up. But you know what's funny? I wrote that article just basically explaining that, hey, out of the 4 players, if one has to go, for me, it's Anthony Barr. Not only does Anthony Barr, for me, would he go, I say, look, you should consider trading him. You might as well get something back in return if the Vikings feel the same way that I do, as far as, look, out of those 4 guys, we got to retain these 3 guys. Anthony Barr, he's great, he's fantastic. But you know what? We're not going to give this dude $50 million like we did Eric Kendricks, especially if we don't know if we're going to get the same consistent level of effort from him on a game-to-game basis, okay? You might as well get something back. And Anthony Barr is going to be expecting a big deal. We already know this, and I compared this situation to the New England Patriots. I said, look, Jamie Collins, he wanted that big, what was this, 2016? He wanted a big contract. I want Von Miller money and all this. I know he disputed it later on, but all right, whatever. Anyway, they know he wanted a big contract that the Patriots that they knew they would not agree to. So they said, look, we might as well get something back. So they traded him to the Cleveland Browns, ended up getting back a 3rd-round draft pick, which they used in the New Orleans Saints trade to get Brandon Cooks, okay? You might as well get something back. And not only that, the Patriots have been doing this throughout their entire decade and a half of dominance where they've at least been title contenders. Yes, they've had Tom Brady, but what makes them so special is that even when they get good players, once they get out of reach to where they know they can't afford them anymore, they stockpile draft picks and they keep the engine rolling. You might as well do that instead of letting Anthony Barr walk away for nothing. And I got crucified all online, everywhere you go. Facebook, Twitter, on the VikingAge.com in the comment section, everywhere. I got at this writer, and you know, it got released to a 420. I got accused of being high while writing this. And you know what? Marijuana is legal out here. But you know what? Sorry to disappoint you all. I was not high while writing that article. But you know what? Look, crucified left and right. Oh, Anthony Barr, that is absolutely stupid. We need to keep him. He's so important and blah, blah, blah. He is the #1 point on this defense. No, he's not. No, he's not, okay? I'm sorry to burst your damn bubble, but I'm sorry. The fact that he's inconsistent, and you know what? If Anthony Barr isn't playing well, which, by the way, for half a season, you can expect that from him. If he's not playing well, you know who the focal points on this defense? It's not one particular player. It's a collective group of players. It's 3 players for me. Harrison Smith, your all-pro safety. Xavier Rhodes, your all-pro shutdown corner. And Eric Kendricks, one of the best coverage linebackers in the NFL. Anthony Barr, to me, is gravy. He's gravy after that. Whatever you can get from him, go ahead, fantastic. But as long as you got Everson Griffin, who, by the way, his second half of the season, he disappeared too. But you know what? With Everson Griffin, that wasn't the norm. I'm like, you know what? Maybe it was just an anomaly. Anthony Barr, it's been the case for him for the last 3 damn years. All right? And Danielle Hunter's going to get better. Okay? You might as well get something back from, oh, Anthony Barr, we need to sign him and lock him up. And this writer's an idiot. And that's fine. Think whatever it is you want. Think whatever it is you want. It makes this for a fun discussion. But you know what? I find it very interesting. A couple of days before that, maybe a week before I wrote that article about Anthony Barr, as far as him, they should trade him and get something in return for him. You know, basically keep the engine going. And again, Mike Zimmer is your head coach. He can identify talent. So, oh my God, what are we going to do if we lose Anthony Barr? This whole thing is over. Mike Zimmer can identify talent. He's done it his whole damn career in the NFL. He can do it again. But anyway, about a week before I wrote that article, Adam Patrick, my buddy Adam Patrick, also of the Viking Age, he wrote an article basically talking about Stephon Diggs, what his contract may be looking like after the recent signings of, let's see, Mike Evans, Jarvis Landry, Allen Robinson, Sammy Watkins. Okay, so those 4 guys. So those 4 guys combined in that article that Adam Patrick mentioned, they're getting a combined average annual salary of at least $14 million per year, right? So he said, hey, Adam Patrick would say, hey, expect Stephon Diggs. He's going to get a big contract. And you know what's funny? All throughout social media, all throughout everything, even the comment section in the article, because I want to know what you fans are thinking. I want to know what it is that you're thinking. All throughout the comment section, oh, Stephon, he's not worth that. Hit $14 million a year, let him walk. He's not worth it. If he's going to hit maybe $10 million a year, let him walk. He's not worth it at all. So let me get this straight. I want to make sure I understand this correctly. Stephon Diggs, right? Top 10 receiver. One of the best receivers in the NFL in terms of route running. You can line him up outside, inside, doesn't matter. Can run every single route, has hands of gold. And you know what? According to Pro Football Focus, the number one receiver in the NFL in terms of contested catch percentage, right? Okay? Do you know how valuable that is to have? Not to mention when you pair him up with Adam Thielen, that makes them the best receiving duo in the NFL. Do we understand how valuable that is? Because according to these folks out here, oh, Stephon Diggs, let him go. He doesn't deserve that sort of money. Oh, he can walk because we can just replace that. We can just replace it. And you throw the ball up to Stephon Diggs, he's going to come down with the ball, okay? It doesn't matter. The dude's a beast. And when you pair him with Adam Thielen, you had the best receiving duo in the NFL. But according to folks out there, you could just replace Stephon Diggs with, I don't know, Jamison Crowder, Brandon Marshall, who's past his prime. Really? That's what we're going to do? Because you know what? I don't think people understand. When we brought in Kirk Cousins, the notion was, and especially from the ESPN talking heads, well, Kirk Cousins, he's not Tom Brady, he's not Aaron Rodgers. And I say, look, no one's saying that Kirk Cousins is Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. Nobody is. But the reason why I was so gung-ho on Kirk Cousins is because he was an upgrade. He's shown an upgrade as far as a resume is concerned, a larger body of work of resume compared to Case Keenum. He's an upgrade at quarterback. But not only that, he's the best quarterback available in his prime, but you're bringing him in to this system, this great system that we have. Well, what is that system? Having the best receiving duo in the NFL. Because I tell you what, for all you folks out there that think Stephon Diggs is just some dude and you can replace him with any, you don't think he deserves to get paid as much as Jarvis Landry? Are we being for real right now? Oh, okay. So anyway, Stephon Diggs, you can replace him. Oh, no big deal. We can replace him. No big deal. You know what that does? If you're an opposing defense and you're going against the Vikings offense at that point, if Stephon Diggs is gone, you know what you can do as a defense? You can cheat. You can gamble a little bit. Suddenly, you can put extra shade on Adam Thielen. Let's double team Adam Thielen, and we'll leave single coverage on, I don't know, Jamison Crowder or whoever the hell you think can just walk right in and pick up where Stephon Diggs left off. And then you know what that does? That makes things more difficult for Adam Thielen, and you're putting more pressure on Kirk Cousins, which is stupid. You have to keep these two together because that's the system in place. And by the way, you're having your franchise running back come back. The defense has to stay honest with those two receivers and this collective system that we have on the damn field. But anyway, we're sitting here picking apart. We're looking for every single reason to pick apart Stephon Diggs. As far as, look, oh, he doesn't deserve it. Oh, he needs to prove this and he needs to prove that. And, oh, he missed. And, you know, he has missed time. He has missed some games. But the last 2 years, he's played 28 games. 28 out of 32. Oh, and we're looking for every reason, picking reasons out of a hat to break this dude apart as far as why he doesn't deserve to get paid as much as Jarvis Landry. But we're willing to sit here and roll out the red carpet and give a blank check to some dude who even admitted himself that he doesn't give it his all on a play-by-play, game-to-game basis. That's what we're doing right now? That's what we're doing? Okay. Yeah, whatever. Look, I tell you what. You get rid of Stephon Diggs, the whole thing is ruined. You have to keep these two together. I've said time and time again, this receiving duo is comparable to Anquan Bolden and Larry Fitzgerald of the Arizona Cardinals of old, okay? And not only that, Stephon Diggs is going to his fourth quarterback. What he had? Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Bradford, Case Keenum, and now Kirk Cousins in a league where typically the quarterback makes the receiver. Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, respectively, make the quarterback. They actually prop the quarterback to be be a little bit better than what they actually are. But, oh, he doesn't deserve that. Let's bring in Anthony Barr, sign him to whatever it is he wants. That's what we're going to do? Okay, so you expect this offense to just be just as good, right? We'll just double team Adam Thielen and put single coverage on whoever the hell else you think could just step in and pick up. Oh, Stephon Diggs, he's not that big of a deal. Really? That's what we're doing? All right, man. I don't give a damn what anybody says. If you're going to, out of the 4 remaining players, Stephon Diggs, Danielle Hunter, Trey Waynes, and Anthony Barr, to me, it's no question. Anthony Barr is the odd man out. And if he's the odd man out, you might as well get something back for him. Oh, my God. Oh, Anthony Barr, the defense won't be the same. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. You know why? Because you still got Harrison Smith. You still got Xavier Rhodes. You still got Eric Kendricks. You got them all. Those are your 3 cornerstone dudes on this defense. And you got them locked up forever, it seems like. You got Everson Griffin still. And if you do sign Danielle Hunter, you'll still have him as well. And you still have Linval Joseph and Mike Zimmer as the head coach, essentially the de facto defensive coordinator, if you will. He's still leading the forefront. He can identify talent. So everybody freaking out over a dude that doesn't give his consistent effort overall. Like I said, the dude can be Von Miller if he wants to. If he wants to. And you know what? I firmly expect this dude to go off and have a breakout season, to play with an extra chip on his shoulder, because this is a contract year for him. But I tell you what, no matter what even if you keep Anthony Barr, if you let Stephon Diggs go, you put more pressure on Adam Thielen and Kirk Cousins, the whole thing is ruined. This offense will not be the same, and this team will get whatever it is that they deserve. So anyway, we will be back next week to do a post-reaction draft podcast. Realistic Randy, Mediocre Best Sports Podcast. You can subscribe on YouTube or iTunes. We'll see you next week.
This is T1.